Wellness Rhythm Show. Find your rhythm. Live your wellness.
Y'all, let me tell you about my Tuesday morning. I skipped breakfast, not because I was being intentional about it, just forgot, chaos, school run, the whole thing. And my colleague goes, "Oh, you're doing autophagy." And I literally stood there thinking, am I? And what exactly is that?
Right, so that word autophagy, it is everywhere right now. It's on supplement labels, in longevity podcasts, plastered across intermittent fasting apps. And the claims range from your cells are self-cleaning to basically you'll live forever.
Which is a pretty wide range, David.
Precisely. So today we are going to do something useful. We are going to separate what the science actually says about autophagy from what the wellness marketing machine has done with it.
Okay, so let's start from the top because I think most people have heard the word but couldn't tell you what it actually means. Autophagy, break it down for me.
Right, here's what I've learned. The word comes from Greek, auto, meaning self, phagy, meaning eating. So literally, self-eating. It's a cellular process where your cells identify damaged components, misfolded proteins, old organelles, and essentially dismantle and recycle them.
So your cells are running their own little recycling program.
Exactly, and this is not a new discovery. Japanese cell biologist Yoshinori Osumi won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2016 specifically for his work mapping out the mechanisms of autophagy. The science is real. The question is what we can actually conclude from it for everyday health decisions.
And that's where things get complicated, right? Because the jump from cells do this cool recycling thing to skip breakfast and live to 120 is a massive leap.
It is. And this is where I want us to be honest with our listeners, because the marketing has genuinely outrun the evidence.
Here's the thing, though. Before we get into what's overhyped, can we talk about why fasting triggers this? Because I actually find that part fascinating.
Good question. When you eat, your insulin levels rise, your body is in growth and storage mode. When you fast, insulin drops, and the body essentially shifts into a kind of maintenance mode. That shift activates certain signaling pathways, including something called mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin. And when mTOR is suppressed, autophagy ramps up.
So it's less about the fasting itself and more about what happens when your body stops processing incoming food.
Precisely. And the research on this in animal models, particularly in yeast, roundworms, and mice, is genuinely compelling. Osumi's work showed that autophagy is essential for cellular health and survival under stress.
But here's where I want to flag something, because our listeners are smart. Animal studies don't automatically translate to humans eating in a 6-hour window.
Brilliant point, Emma. And that is exactly the gap. Most human studies on fasting and autophagy are small, short-term, and they measure autophagy markers in blood or tissue samples rather than actual health outcomes. We're not yet at the point where we can say fast for 16 hours, and here is the measurable benefit you will experience.
So when a supplement brand says their product activates autophagy, what are they actually selling?
Largely a story built on early-stage science. Spermidine is one compound being marketed heavily right now. It does appear to stimulate autophagy in some studies. Resveratrol was the previous darling. But the clinical evidence in humans for meaningful health outcomes remains thin.
Right, and if you're spending $40 a month on a supplement based on a mouse study, that's a conversation worth having.
Quite. Now that said, and I want to be fair here, there is genuine emerging evidence that fasting practices have real benefits, not necessarily because of autophagy specifically, but through related mechanisms like metabolic switching, reduced inflammation, and improved insulin sensitivity.
Which brings us to the practical question our listeners are probably asking right now, which is, okay, is intermittent fasting actually worth doing?
Let's dig deeper into the research here. A 2019 review in the New England Journal of Medicine by Mark Mattson and colleagues at Johns Hopkins looked at intermittent fasting across multiple studies and found real evidence of benefits including improved blood sugar regulation, blood pressure, and even cognitive markers.
And Mattson is not fringe. This guy has been studying this for decades.
Correct. But, and this is important, those benefits were observed from intermittent fasting as a broad practice. The studies were not designed to isolate autophagy as the mechanism.
So we might be getting real benefits for reasons we don't fully understand yet.
Which is actually how a lot of nutrition science works. We know more about what seems to help than exactly why.
Y'all, this is why we do this show. Because even when the headline is autophagy is the key to longevity, the actual science is a lot more nuanced and honestly a lot more interesting.
And speaking of interesting, I want to address the longevity angle directly because that's where the most extravagant claims live. Companies like Dave Asprey's Bulletproof brand and various longevity clinics market autophagy as a core anti-aging strategy. And researchers like David Sinclair at Harvard do discuss it in the context of aging biology.
But even Sinclair, who is genuinely enthusiastic about longevity science, is clear that we're talking about mechanisms that might contribute to healthy aging, not a proven anti-aging protocol.
Exactly. The leap from autophagy clears damaged cellular debris to you will live significantly longer by fasting is not supported by current human evidence.
Okay, so let's get practical. Because I think our listeners, whether you're a 35-year-old managing a hectic job and kids, or you're 58 and thinking about long-term health, you want to know, should I try intermittent fasting or not?
Right, here's what I've learned from looking at this honestly. If your goal is general metabolic health, weight management, or blood sugar stability, there is reasonable evidence that time-restricted eating, say a 12 to 16-hour overnight fast, is a sustainable and effective approach for many people.
And the overnight fast is actually the accessible entry point that nobody talks about enough. If you stop eating at 8 p.m. and have breakfast at 8 a.m., congratulations, you've done a 12-hour fast.
Which most of us do accidentally, and apparently Emma does while managing school runs.
Ha! Exactly. And this is why I want to address the skeptics in our audience, and there should be skeptics. Because intermittent fasting gets sold as this universal solution, but it's not appropriate for everyone.
Critically important point. People with a history of disordered eating, those who are pregnant or breastfeeding, people with certain metabolic conditions, anyone on medications that require food. These groups need to consult their doctor before considering any fasting protocol. The New England Journal Review made this explicit.
And even for people without those considerations, the best fasting window is the one you can actually maintain consistently without being a monster to everyone around you.
I've tested the 16-8 approach myself. I will say that my productivity between 6 and noon, when I'm not eating, is actually quite good. But I acknowledge that's one data point from one finance professional in London with a great deal of schedule flexibility.
That's you being admirably self-aware, David. Because our listeners who are doing shift work or managing demanding caregiving situations, a rigid eating window can genuinely add stress, which probably wipes out any metabolic benefit.
Correct. Chronic psychological stress and the cortisol it produces can actually suppress the very cellular repair processes we're trying to support.
Before we wrap up the main discussion, can we touch on one more angle? Because I've seen fasting being marketed specifically to the 50-plus crowd as the anti-aging move, and I want to address that directly.
Good. So for pre-retirees and the 55-plus audience specifically, the research is somewhat promising, but also carries specific cautions. A study published in Cell Metabolism in 2020 by Krista Varady at the University of Illinois, Chicago, found that alternate day fasting can improve cardiovascular markers. But Varady also noted that muscle mass preservation becomes a priority as we age.
Which means if you're fasting aggressively without adequate protein intake and resistance exercise, you might be trading one problem for another.
Precisely. The longevity angle requires a whole system view, not just fast more.
And on that note, y'all, if you're finding this useful, honestly, the best thing you can do for us is hit like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. It helps other people who are tired of oversimplified wellness advice find us, and we genuinely appreciate it.
It also lets us know which topics are landing, which helps us plan future episodes. We're considering a follow-up on the specific research around time-restricted eating and metabolic health in the over 55 demographic, which is a rich area.
I would listen to that episode, and I make the show. Okay, so if you're taking one thing from today, here it is. Autophagy is a real Nobel Prize-backed biological process. Fasting can support metabolic health through multiple mechanisms. But the specific longevity claims in the marketing? Get skeptical. A sustainable 12-hour overnight fast done consistently is a solid place to start without buying into the hype.
Right, here's what I've learned in summary. The science of autophagy is genuinely fascinating and still developing. What we know is that fasting practices have real metabolic benefits for many people. What we don't know is whether those benefits come primarily from autophagy or from a dozen other things happening simultaneously. Keep the practice, question the marketing.
Beautifully put, y'all. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We're rooting for you wherever you are in your wellness journey, whether you're experimenting with your eating window or just trying to remember to drink water. It all counts.
And if you are skipping breakfast because of a chaotic school run, you can now tell people you're supporting cellular maintenance processes. Technically defensible.
See you next time on the Wellness Rhythm Show. The show is part of the VoxCrea.ai system. If you want a show like this for your organization without building it yourself,
Go to voxcreel.ai and request a sample episode.